On our newscast tonight, in her first press conference of the year, President Park Geun-hye once again placed a strong emphasis on the need for structural reforms to revitalize the economy. World leaders, including Muslim and Jewish statesmen, were in Paris to join one of France's biggest rallies, a march against terrorism. Korea, the seventh biggest carbon emitter in the world, faces up to its global responsibility by opening a carbon emissions market today. The objective, reduce emissions by 30% by 2020. These stories and more coming up on Early Edition at 6. Good to have you with us on this Monday evening, live from Seoul. I'm Hwang Ji-hye.
And this is Daniel Che. Thank you for joining us. Our starting point today, President Park Geun-hye's New Year's press conference.
Right. The president talked about how she plans to run the country in her third year in office.
That's right. From inter-Korean ties to the economy to a reshuffling of the administration.
And our presidential office correspondent Choi Yoo-sun takes us through some of the key points in the president's remarks.
Addressing the nation on Monday, President Park pledged to lay the groundwork for peaceful unification on the Korean peninsula, as this year marks the 70th anniversary of the division of the two Koreas with their liberation from Japanese colonial rule. As a means to improve inter-Korean ties, President Park expressed her hope for holding reunions for families separated by the Korean War around the time of the Lunar New Year holiday next month. The president then said she's open to talks with her North Korean counterpart as long as it would help the two Koreas peacefully unite.
그 비핵화 같은 거 이거가 전혀 해결이 안 되는데 이게 전제 조건은 아니지만 이것이 해결이 전혀 안 되는데 평화 통일을 얘기할 수가 없거든요.
President Park spent a large portion of her time talking about her economic innovation plan, saying this year will offer Korea a final chance to leap forward. She then told the nation she was sorry for the confusion that followed documents leaked from her office and vowed to ensure such acts are not repeated. Stressing how the prosecution has found no proof of her aides intervening in state affairs, the president said she has no plans to immediately replace any of them. As for her chief of staff, she said now is not the time to let him go.
이제 지금 여러 가지로 그 당면한 현안들이 많이 있어서 그 문제들을 좀 이렇게 수습을 먼저 해야 되지 않겠느냐. 그래서 그 일들이 끝나고 나서 또 결정할 문제라고 그렇게 생각을 합니다.
It's clear what President Park's main goal is for this year, revitalizing the economy. But her firm position about her aides' alleged abuse of power and determination not to replace them anytime soon may deter parliamentary cooperation to secure legislative approval of the economy-related bills. Choi Yoo-sun, Arirang News.
And the word that was most repeated in the president's speech today was economy. That reflects just how much the Park administration is focused on reviving and strengthening the nation's economic fundamentals. Lee Ji-yoon delves deeper into the gist of President Park's plan for the economy.
노동시장 개혁은 선택이 아니라 필수적인 생존 전략입니다.
Carrying out reforms in various economic sectors is President Park's #1 priority this year. And those reforms are part of her 3-year economic innovation plan, which she says will help keep Korea's low economic growth from falling into a long, drawn-out slump.
내수와 수출 이런 게 다 균형이 잡혀서 온기가 돌게 하는 그런 여러 가지 정책들을 올해 아주 모든 힘을 다해서 부지런히 실시를 하게 되면 우리가 지금 3.8%로 정부는 성장을 할 수 있다고 보는데 우리가 할 수 있다고 생각을 합니다.
In order to see such economic growth, the president said related entities such as trade unions and management must work together. As for the possibility of a cut in the nation's key interest rate, she plans to consult with macroeconomic policymakers to make a timely decision when needed. Easing regulations aimed at boosting the economy is also on the president's to-do list.
올해 2단계 규제 개혁을 성공적으로 추진하고 나면 기업과 외국인 투자자들은 더욱 자유롭게 투자할 수 있게 되고
And she believes that will lead to creating more jobs and eventually reviving the economy. But whether these measures will prop up the economy in the end remains to be seen. Some skeptics point out that the president's policies lack provisions to really help those with heavy financial burdens. Lee Jun, Arirang News.
We shift our focus outside of Korea now. A massive unity rally took place in Paris on Sunday to honor the victims of last week's terror attacks. Dozens of world leaders joined the march amid some of the tightest security the world has ever seen, as France remains at its highest state of alert. Our Son Jung-in has this report.
French officials have described it as the largest march in the country's history. An unprecedented number of people, estimated to be more than 1.5 million, took part in a unity march in Paris, holding Je suis Charlie or I am Charlie signs. The rally, led by relatives of the victims, began on Sunday afternoon at the Place de la République.
And I think that we all have to fight for the values of our democracy, of the Republic, and that's why I think it's really important to be here today.
The march was held in response to the cold-blooded killings that began last Wednesday in the French capital when two brothers, Said and Sharif Kouachi, raided the offices of the satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo. It ended on Friday with the brothers and another gunman, Amity Coulibaly, being shot dead by police, but only after more people had lost their lives. In total, 17 innocent people were killed during the 3 days of violence. Thousands of police and soldiers were deployed to maintain security and protect those taking part, including more than 40 world leaders. French President François Hollande joined the rally, linking arms with leaders from Germany, Italy, Turkey, Britain, as well as Israel and the Palestinian territories in act of solidarity. The rally was held as more details of the terror attacks emerged. A video of Amity Coulibaly appeared on the internet on Sunday, in which he pledged allegiance to the group that calls itself Islamic State. In the 7-minute clip, he said the attacks were meant to cause fear across France and were in retaliation for foreign forces targeting IS militants in Iraq and Syria. Son Jung-in, Arirang News.
Following the recent events in France, U.S. President Barack Obama has decided to invite Washington's allies next month for a security summit on how to try and prevent violent extremism around the world. Wrapping up a series of meetings with European officials in Paris on Sunday, U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder said the meeting will be held in Washington on February 18th. Holder says the allies will discuss ways to counteract violence and ultimately defeat religious extremists who are bent on wreaking death and destruction. The White House also said that the meeting will stress the need for greater efforts at the grassroots level to tackle the issue.
Korea and Japan have reached agreement on a set of rules for fishing in their respective exclusive economic zones, wrapping up a 4-day meeting with Tokyo in Seoul. Korea's fisheries ministry said the two countries had agreed to allow fishing to resume in each other's exclusive economic zones next week. Under the agreement, the two countries will each be permitted to send 860 ships into their respective exclusive economic zones and to catch up to 60,000 tons of fish until June and for another 12 months starting in July. The two countries have not allowed fishing boats in their waters since July, as they had been unable to reach an agreement for the 12-month fishing season. And Korea opened its carbon market today as part of efforts to tackle climate change. The new market is expected to help reduce carbon emissions by 30% over the next 5 years. Kim Ji-yeon reports.
A carbon emissions trading market opened at the headquarters of the Korea Exchange in Busan on Monday. More than 500 business entities are participating in the market to buy and sell leftover emissions credits, much like a stock exchange. Around 1,200 tons of emissions credits were bought and sold during the first day of trading. The price for 15 Korea allowance units rose nearly 10% to around 8,600 Korean won, or roughly $8 US. 1 KAU is equivalent to 1 ton of carbon dioxide gas. Through the trading system, Korea expects to reduce the amount of projected emissions by 30% by the year 2020.
It will require continuous preparation and interest from business entities. Additional emissions quotas could be necessary if they're building additional plants.
The government allocated nearly 1.6 billion tons of greenhouse gas emissions to around 500 participating companies. This round of emissions credits expires in 2017. Companies releasing more than 1 ton of chemical substances are required by law to participate in the emissions trading market. Among the participating companies are some of the country's biggest conglomerates, including Samsung Steel Industries and Hanwha Fine Chemical Corporation. Korea is the 7th biggest carbon emitter in the world, releasing nearly 2% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Kim Jeon, Arirang News.
And at the National Assembly, lawmakers delayed 2 major pieces of business but voted on dozens of bills this Monday afternoon, including one related to compensation for families of the victims of the Sewol ferry disaster. An anti-corruption bill named after Kim Young-nan, the former head of the Anti-Corruption and Civil Rights Commission, was not part of the agenda as planned. Lawmakers agreed to prioritize the bill in next month's extraordinary session, as the Monday session was the last plenary session of the month. Also delayed was the selection of special inspectors in charge of corruption involving presidential aides or relatives. Bipartisan bickering kept lawmakers from selecting the candidates, who will now be chosen next month. Korea's labor minister has vowed to push ahead with sweeping reforms to the labor market. Lee Ki-kwon says the government is particularly focused on preventing companies from exploiting temporary workers as cheap sources of labor that they can fire at will. Our Kim Min-ji has the details.
The government is poised to radically overhaul the labor market. In an interview with Seoul-based Yonhap News Agency, Lee Ki-kwon, the Minister of Employment and Labor, said the labor, management, and government need to reach an agreement on how to reform the labor market by March. This, as major labor-related laws will change this year. The push comes on the back of a high youth unemployment rate and a high proportion of temporary workers. The minister said advanced countries are modifying labor rules in response to the changing environment. But Korea still maintains laws and regulations drawn up when it was seeking rapid industrialization. While it is important to achieve a goal of 70% employment from around 65% now, the minister said firms should not hire temporary workers just for the sake of boosting the rate, nor should they exploit workers for cheap labor. He said reforms should be aimed at reducing the gap between workers in regards to wage and working conditions without cutting the number of jobs. He also called for a flexible wage and working hour system for workers approaching retirement, adding that a reward system should be based on performance and not seniority. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Yet another tragic accident took 2 lives today. At least 2 workers have died and 4 others were injured following a nitrogen leak at an LG display factory in Paju, north of Seoul. The leak was first detected a little before 1 p.m. on this Monday as workers were doing repair work on the 9th floor of the building. Authorities say that one of them died at the scene while another was pronounced dead as he was being transported to the hospital. One of the 4 injured workers is in critical condition at a local hospital, while the rest are being treated for minor injuries. We will have more on this story as things develop.
On this week's Industry Insight, we take a look at a local e-commerce startup that has broken away from the rest to become one of the country's leading online retailers. It's called Coupang, and its innovative strategies and breakneck growth have attracted investors from home and abroad. Connie Lee has more.
It's a click here and a click there. And whether it's a box of diapers, a bag of coconut flakes, or a new winter coat, you can get the item delivered right to your door before the end of the day.
안녕하세요. 쿠팡에서 왔습니다.
It's all done through Coupang, which promotes itself as the country's leading e-commerce company. The 4-year-old company has grown quickly. In January 2011, it recorded 1 million subscribers and around $270 million in transactions that year. But today, there's around 25 million subscribers, with last year's transactions projected to be about $1.8 billion. Most shoppers use its mobile app, which was the #1 shopping app last year, beating out competitors like We Make Price and Ticket Monster. Coupang started out as a daily deal site by Harvard grad Bum Kim, but is now a full-fledged e-commerce company with more than 2,000 employees who enjoy an open office space in Seoul that looks like it belongs in Silicon Valley. The Korean startup has attracted U.S. investors and most recently raised $300 million from a group led by BlackRock. Investors point to Coupang's same-day service model, mobile expertise, and online offerings as the features that make the company one to watch. Coupang says it knows how to lure in the customers, especially to its mobile app.
You may think the secret is simply behind the design and layout, but in fact, there's a lot of technology and research that goes into this. We were able to keep up with that.
The company also says there's nothing like its end-to-end customer service, which involves using its own delivery personnel, including the Coupang Man. The Coupang Man does not fly, but his services are compared to that through the company's so-called rocket delivery. This may be the key to getting repeat customers.
It went from buying just necessities and grew into just buying basically everything.
I met with one avid user.
So a lot of times I'm not home when they're delivering something, but they always send me a message. They even take a photo, and then they send me the text message, this is where we left it. So I'm almost 100% sure I'm going to be getting the item that I received, which actually hasn't been the case when I've used other services.
Coupang has even given new life to businesses that have partnered with it. This online shopping mall, which specializes in trendy, feminine pieces, has seen its annual sales increase 20-fold after partnering with Coupang to sell its items.
The marketing and promotion of my brand through Coupang was incredible. It led me to sell 10,000 items in a day. I've now expanded my business and created another brand.
As for Coupang's future, well, it says it wants to solidify its position as a top online retailer here in Korea and expand its delivery service before branching out to the world.
We hope that one of these days, people will look back and ask themselves, how do we ever live without Coupang?
Connie Lee, Arirang News.
With the largest number of golf simulators anywhere in the world, screen golfing is big business here in Korea, and now in the city of Daejeon, a golf theme park opened and it has its eyes on becoming a global golf landmark. Kwon So-ah has this story.
It's a paradise for golfers, indoors and outdoors alike. A golf theme park in the central city of Daejeon has opened for golf lovers of all ages. The park boasts upgraded screen golf facilities that make virtual indoor golf more real than it's ever been before.
I like that you can play on real grass. It's better to practice here than at other indoor facilities because my shots feel more precise.
The new space not only offers fun for the whole family, but also gives opportunities for young players who want to hit the big time. The park has a special training academy with simulation golf competitions that should help foster the next generation of Korean golfing superstars. And that's not all. Various cultural activities can be enjoyed for residents and visitors all across the nation and the world.
There will be a space for performances like musicals too. We are looking forward to welcoming Koreans and foreigners who want the total golf experience.
Korea's green golf industry is only around 10 years old, but it has grown rapidly with 3.5 million people playing every year. With the new golf park, Korea hopes to swing into a new K-wave on the golfing screen. Kwon So-ah, Arirang News.
It's mid-January here in Korea, so it's very, very cold. The freezing temperatures usually mean surging heating bills, which adds an extra expense to households already struggling to get by. So, with some tips on how to better insulate your home and hopefully save you a little extra cash, here's our Park Geun-hye.
Shielding your home from the frigid outdoor weather can be easy and cost-effective. A roll of bubble wrap is one of the most popular items used in Korea to help keep indoor temperatures warm in the winter. But is there something better? This new product on the market aims to answer that question by using a spray-on type of insulation. In a comparison test, one window pane is covered with bubble wrap and another sprayed with the liquid-type insulator. 30 minutes later, the surface temperature of both windows are measured with an infrared camera. The window with the bubble wrap measures 18 degrees Celsius or 3 degrees higher than before, while the one sprayed with the organic silicone reads 19 degrees. Overall, both show welcome results without costing a fortune. Effectively managing heating systems can also lower monthly costs. This device, called Smart Valve, helps regulate room temperatures automatically. The wax compound is designed to expand inside a gas valve in the presence of excessive heat, which blocks off the pipe. It reopens again when the temperature drops as the compound contracts.
Sometimes I forget to turn off the heater before I go out, and then my gas bill skyrockets. But after using the Smart Valve, I'm saving 30% on the average cost.
The device can also centralize heat to a specific area, helping to reduce energy usage.
Unlike a heating system that detects the air temperature, the Smart Valve measures the temperature of the floor, thus enabling to balance the room temperature in a more effective way.
These are just some of the many simple and efficient ideas that can help you keep warm during this chilly winter season without breaking the bank. Park Geun-hye, Arirang News.
Modern art from Korea is gaining a foothold in the global art community. Our Immunity takes a closer look at a couple of artists who helped redefine art and pave the way for their peers.
It's reminiscent of Michelangelo's classic statue of the Virgin Mary. But it's got an odd twist. Korean iconic media artist Lee Nam is no stranger to blending the old with the new, and the East with the West. He takes the familiarity of classic works of art and adds a new media twist, like in his work Why Jesus Christ Shouldered a Television. The barriers between mediums are blurred as he experiments with ideas, creating unique blends of culture and time.
I wanted to show the harmony with this fusion and show the meaning of coexistence.
Originally a sculptor, Lee's fascination with media art has resulted in these globally recognized contemporary art pieces. Caught in the midst of a turbulent era, artist Kim Po-hyun, also known as Po Kim, lived, breathed, and created art for almost a century. Born in 1915, Kim saw the transformation of a country and the destruction of the Korean War, reflected in his works. One of the early pioneering Korean contemporary artists to study abroad, Kim paved the way for others, creating delicate and sophisticated modern pieces well before the rest of the art community. As an abstract expressionist, his works also embody images of happiness and hope, something carried by Kim through the decades. Im Yoon-hee, Arirang News.
Well, we have on and off, on again, off again, cold spells coming and going in Korea. The skies are clear, but people are getting sick because of these extreme temperature changes.
Exactly, and don't forget about cold mornings and nights. For details, let's turn to our Michelle Park at the Weather Center. Michelle?
Good evening, guys. And if I may add to your little discussion that you guys just had, when you get cold, your body's first response is to protect your vital organs by cutting circulations to your extremities, now, which means there will be less blood flowing to your hands and your feet. So take it as a sign and try to stay warm by putting on some extra layers along with some mittens and scarves. Now, coming back to the weather, the cold is definitely letting up with expected highs above the freezing all throughout the week, but with large temperature differences between the days and nights. Now, it's the perfect weather to get sick, so hope you take my advice and layer up. Now, going over to our temperature readings for tomorrow, so we'll start off the Tuesday morning at -6 and gets up to 5, while Daegu and Busan hits 9 and 11 degrees. And to other regions, Jeju gets up to 11, while Mount Kumgang dips to low at 1 degrees. Well, that's all for now, Michelle Park, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.
Thank you for that, Michelle. Well, that's all from us. Thank you for watching. Have a good day if you're tuning in from different time zones. This has been Daniel Che.
And I'm Hwang Jie. To our viewers in Korea, have a great rest of the evening. Do join us again at the same time tomorrow for more.